Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese, and this week we are talking about IRAs and taxes. I know, taxes. How much fun can that possibly be? Well, I'll do my best to make it fun for you this week. You have to recognize that, and when we talk about IRAs, and when I say the word IRA, it really incorporates 401ks and 403bs and simple IRAs and SEP IRAs and all of these qualified retirement plans, all these different plans where you essentially get some kind of tax deduction as the money gets invested. The money grows, tax deferred, but hey, when you pay all the money, later on when you pull it out. Now, the reason that this week's show is so important is because for many of you watching, as you're sitting there at home watching me, it may be your IRA or your 401k or your 403b, your retirement plan could very well be your largest tax liability. You want to make sure that you're making smart choices when it comes to taxes and your retirement plans. That's what we're going to talk about on this week's show, so I know you're going to enjoy it. So here's the thing. Make sure you grab that pad of paper and that pen, get a cup of coffee, because Retiring Well starts right here, right now.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
This week in Chalk Talk, we are talking about IRAs, taxes, and what are things worth? I think one of the things that we in the financial world don't spend enough time on is really talking to you about what different accounts are really worth. And the other thing is you have to recognize the entire system is kind of, I don't know, it's built by Wall Street, built by the government. It's kind of, how do I want to say it? All the information isn't always readily apparent or shared with you, and I think that'll come true. I think you'll see what I'm talking about as we go through this little segment. Now, I want you to think about things this way. Imagine, for the sake of discussion, that you had an IRA. And let's imagine that IRA is worth $500. Now, when I say it's worth $500, what I'm really saying is when you get your statement, right? Maybe your IRA is at Fidelity. Let's say it's at Fidelity, or maybe it's at Vanguard, or maybe it's at Scott Trade, or wherever it is. You get your statement, and it says, oh look, at the very bottom, $500,000 is the total. Now, that $500 might be split amongst a number of funds or a number of positions, but that's what you've got. You've got $500K on your statement. It says John or Jane Smith, and at the bottom, the answer, it says $500,000 on that account. Okay? So you look at it and you say, oh, that's cool. I got $500,000 in my IRA. Isn't that cool? It says right there on my piece of paper, I have $500,000. Pat yourself on the back. You've done a good job saving. Yay. Everybody's happy, right? Okay. Then it's wintertime, and you're cold, and you don't want to be up here in the wintertime anymore. And so what you do is you say, you know what? It's been enough of this cold. I think I'm going to go to Florida for a few weeks. Right? Do a little vacation down in Florida. So off you go. And when you go down to Florida, and you're in this little vacation area, maybe you rented a place, what have you. You find, while you're just kind of hanging out down there, here is a home in Florida. Here's a home. And you look, you say, wow, look at this. I can buy that home for $500,000. And then you start thinking, right? You start thinking, you say, well, wait a minute here. You think I have $500,000 in my IRA. And you're over the age of 59 and a half, so you can get this money. You got $500 in your IRA. Here's a house. It costs $500. And you start thinking, I know. Here's what you start thinking. I know what I'm going to do. I really want that house more than I want my IRA. I am going to go ahead and cash out my IRA, and I'm going to use it to buy the house. So I ask you, will it work? Will that work? Can you cash out your $500,000 IRA and buy the house for $500,000? Will that work? Well, the answer is no, it's not going to work. No way will that work. Because why? When this money comes out of the IRA, what do you got to do? What do you got to do? You got to pay tax. You got to pay tax. What is a tax on a $500,000 IRA? You pull $500,000 out of an IRA, well, it's all ordinary income. What's a tax? Well, I can tell you this. It's probably somewhere around $150K, maybe more. Let's pretend it's $150K. You cash that thing out, $150K goes to the IRS. You have the other $350K goes to you, right? You can't buy the house, you don't have enough money. So I ask you, is the IRA really worth $500,000? Because something is only worth what you can liquidate it for. In other words, what's the car worth? Well, what can you sell it for? What's a house worth? What can you sell it for? What's an investment account worth? Well, if you sell everything, what do you get when all is said and done? What's an IRA worth? What you can get when all is said and done. You liquidate it, you don't have $500K, you only have $350. So here is what I believe should be the case. If we're honest with ourselves, if we're honest, instead of this IRA being titled, the John Doe IRA, right? Instead of it being titled John Doe IRA, shouldn't it really be titled John Doe and IRS's IRA? Because let's be honest, isn't the IRS a partner in this money? No matter what happens, they're going to get part of it. Aren't they a partner? Shouldn't your statement read John and IRS in this case? Because that would be realistic. It's not. So here's the point. When you look at your IRA or your 401k or your 403b or your 457, you look at any of those statements, remember up here, it's not worth the number that's on the page. It's worth something less to you. And make sure that you're making decisions appropriately.
You've worked hard for your money and your best is yet to come. You've reached a point where you don't put your money at risk anymore. The road ahead doesn't scare you because your money is secure and working for you. Centennial Wealth Advisory, portfolio stability, tax reduction strategies, lifetime income, financial security in any economy.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Thursday, August 10th at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit cen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, I'm here with Larry Flynn. He's one of the financial advisors at Centennial Wealth. And, Larry, a lot of folks, as they're watching the show, we're asking them to give us a call. Come on in and visit with you and the other guys here at the firm. And I'm sure they're wondering, well, gosh, if I call, what's going to happen? What's that like? I'm sure there's some uncertainty out there. What happens when somebody calls to come visit with you and the guys?
Well, the first thing happens, Mike, is if they make a call, we have somebody from our office reach out to them and basically try to spend about 10-15 minutes with them on the phone just to try to get to understand, what are they trying to accomplish, what do they want to expect when they come in to visit with us.
Okay, like what kind of questions they have, what they're trying to, and I'm sure a lot of folks, they're just trying to get maybe a second set of eyes or a second opinion on things, right?
That's right.
So they call up, someone reaches out, they get some information so that, so I guess essentially you can be better prepared for them when they come in, right?
Well, exactly. Before we want to meet with them, a lot of these people want a risk analysis, they want a fee analysis, they really want, again, that second opinion on what they have. So we might ask them to send some information ahead of time so we can make that first meeting very productive.
Well, of course, because we don't want to waste their time, and you want to make the best use of your time. So maybe by being prepared, sure, right, you can make for a good meeting. So here we are. They come on into the office. I know Pat meets them up front usually, or maybe they're in Petoskey or Gaylord. What kind of things are you talking about? What types of analyses are you usually doing for people? What kind of areas are people finding these conversations to be of greatest value?
Well, Mike, the first thing we do when we sit down with somebody is we really want to know what their story is, where they came from, what they're trying to accomplish, what are their dreams now that they're either nearing retirement or getting in retirement. Right. These are important before we even get into any other discussions because we want to know where they're coming from.
Well, yeah, you got to know where they're from and what they're trying to get to before you mess around with any planning, right?
That's right.
So once you get through that, what are some of the things that you find yourselves typically talking about with the folks that come visit?
Well, the most important conversation, of course, is how do they feel about investing in the first place? Before we even talk about anything, how much risk are they willing to live with? How much are they willing to lose in just a given year? We saw so many people, didn't we, after 08? They had that conversation with the advisor. They put them in a conservative portfolio, and the people lost 30-40% and had no clue they were taking that kind of risk on. We're not going to let that happen. So
basically, you're trying to help learn about their situation, learn what they're trying to accomplish, give them a full analysis to make sure that they're on target, and if they're not, I'm assuming you give them ways that they could fix things.
That's right.
All right, fantastic. So folks, there you have it. Sounds like a pretty comfortable meeting to me. Any arm twisting going on there, Larry?
No arm twisting.
Of course not. I didn't think there was. Again, if you want to visit with the guys, just pick up the phone. The number's on the screen. We'd love to see you in the office. Love to see if we can help you out.
Centennial Wealth Advisory, your independent retirement planning specialists, now in 3 convenient locations in northern Michigan. 818 Red Drive in Traverse City, 3890 Charlevoix Avenue in Petoskey, and 3687 Old 27th South in Gaylord. Contact us at 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com to schedule your no-obligation complete retirement review at any of our northern Michigan locations, Traverse City, Petoskey, or Gaylord. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
All right, we're back. A few minutes ago during our Chalk Talk segment, we were talking about an IRA and what is an IRA really worth? And what I want to talk about now has to do more with doing Roth conversions and basically trying to buy out your silent partner, the IRS, in the most efficient way possible. And probably the easiest way to illustrate this is with an example. So now what we're going to do here as we look at our example, I don't want you to reach through the camera there, reach through your TV and try to kill me because I'm going to talk a little bit about the tax code and give you some numbers. I'm going to make this as simple as we can, and I'm going to give you a little example of, say, a typical married couple that we talk to. And in this example, we're going to see why it's so important to be as aggressive as you can with Roth conversions every chance you get. That's super important. We're going to see why, okay? Now, let's look at our example. We're going to have a couple. Let's call them Joe and Mary because, I don't know, that's the best names I can think of at the moment. We're going with Joe and Mary. And let's imagine that they have income when they do their tax return. Let's imagine that at the end of the day, they have maybe $72,000 of income, so adjusted gross income. So between their Social Security and maybe they've got a pension and that kind of stuff, they get about $6,000 a month, and they're perfectly comfortable on that. Now, by the way, they do have IRAs, but in our example, they don't need any money from their retirement plan, from their IRA yet. They don't need it yet. But what's going to happen is when they turn 70 and a half, somewhere down the road, that's when they're going to have to pull money out. So right now they've got $72,000 of income between pensions and Social Security. They're happy, and they're not taking money from their IRAs. Fair enough? Okay. Now, how does this work from a tax perspective? Well, at the end of the day, what really matters is, well, how much is Social Security, how much is pension, and some of the Social Security is probably taxable, some is not. Let's pretend that the numbers work out in such a way that roughly $60,000 is considered adjusted gross income. Let's just pretend that's the number. $60,000, that's what it is, no big deal. Then, however, another thing comes into play. You have standard deductions, exemptions. There's another $20,000 there that they don't pay tax on. So now they went from 60 adjusted gross down to 40. So what's their tax liability? Well, the way the tax brackets work, the first $18,000 is 10%. Then they're 15% all the way up to $75,000, $76,000. So they're in the 15% brackets there, aren't they? Okay, great. That's super for them. They're in a great position. They're not paying a lot of tax. Life is good. Well, what's going to happen when they turn 70? Well, let's say when they're 70, they both have IRAs. Let's say they end up getting $40,000 of IRA distributions. Suddenly, what kind of impact does that have on their tax return? Well, suddenly they're paying tax on their pension, they're paying tax on their IRA, and suddenly a bigger chunk of their Social Security is taxable. Right? They were at $72,000, drop another $100,000 or $40,000 on top, and they're maybe at maybe $110,000 taxable or something like that. You subtract $20,000 for standard deductions and personal exemptions, and look at this, their taxable income is maybe $80,000 or $85,000. Next thing you know, they're in the 25% brackets. Why? Because suddenly they had required distributions. Required distributions. Now, how do you fix it? And by the way, remember, required distributions, they get bigger every year. So this is the start of the problem. Every year it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So how do you fix it? Well, here's what you do. Let's take a look. Let's go back to today, before they're taking required distributions. Their taxable liability, they were only paying $40,000 taxable income. Remember that? Well, guess what? The 15% bracket extends all the way up to $75,000, $76,000. They could be converting $30,000, $35,000 of their IRA to Roth that year and just pay 15. Wouldn't you rather pay 15% than 25? I mean, wouldn't you rather do that? Well, they could do the same thing. Now, the question you should be asking yourself is, well, wait a minute. Why doesn't my financial advisor tell me about that? Why doesn't my accountant tell me about that? Well, here's the thing. Your financial advisor, typically they don't deal with taxes. Your accountant, typically during tax season, they're busy preparing taxes. They're not doing tax planning. Big difference between tax planning and tax preparing. The reality is, unless you're talking to a team of advisors like those of us at Centennial Wealth, you're probably not getting that kind of advice. If this is the first time you're hearing about this, you're probably not getting that kind of advice, and you should be asking yourself, gosh, if you're missing this, what else are you missing? Maybe that's a good reason to give us a call. Come visit. See if we can be helpful.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Hi, I'm here with Larry Flynn. He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And Larry, I know you and the other advisors, they do a lot of public discussions, a lot of public seminars on financial matters regarding retirement planning. Can you share with our viewers a little bit more about, what do you talk about, and what kinds of topics can they expect to hear you speak on?
Mike, we put on a 1-hour presentation, and I'll talk about a number of various topics, from taxes to the new fiduciary standard of care, just a number of things that we believe are critical in making somebody's retirement vision a reality.
So this is all about getting them good information in today's world on a variety of retirement topics. That's right. Now, a lot of these events, I know these folks are out there watching us right now. I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, Larry, I've been to these before, and usually it's really nothing more than someone trying to sell me something. Can you maybe respond to people that think about that?
Yeah, I'm really surprised by that. I hear that all the time. Hey, I went to these before. They hard sold me. They were trying to pressure me into making an appointment with them. That's not what we're about. Just want to give them some good information. If they see something from the presentation that they might want to hear more about, then great, we'd love to meet with them. But we're not going to meet with somebody that doesn't want to meet with us. We're not going to hard sell them into having to come to our office.
Yeah, why waste time chasing down people who don't want to talk to you anyway, right? Right. Well, that sounds great. So, Larry, I know you do these throughout all of northern Michigan. For those folks watching that think, hey, I'd like to attend that. Does it cost anything, by the way?
No cost.
So they're free. So they think, okay, it's free to go. I'd love to go, learn a little bit, maybe have a nice dinner. How do they find out more information, like when these events are and how to register? What do they need to do?
Well, they can call the number they've been seeing on the screen during the program. Okay. They can visit the website, www.cen-wealth.com.
All right.
Yep.
So website, phone number, either way, they can get all the information they need. Is that right?
There you go.
All right, there you go, folks. Sounds to me like it'd be worth your time to attend. You've got nothing to lose. And hey, maybe you'll find out some great information that helps you make your retirement better. Thanks, Larry.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Thursday, August 10th at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit cen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Well, I'm here with Larry Flynn, one of the financial advisors here at Centennial Wealth. And Larry, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
So we're talking about IRAs and taxes, and all that kind of good stuff this week. Now, you've run a tax planning firm for many years before being a financial advisor,
right.
so I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts on today's topic. So I'm going to just let you jump right in.
All right, Mike. Well, you kind of alluded to this earlier in the show. You talked real briefly about this concept we had with the IRA, right? That when we put in, we were going to get a tax deduction, right?
Yep.
We were going to save at some rate, right? The idea being, in our working years, we're supposed to be in a higher bracket, right? And lo and behold, we're going to get to our retirement years when we start pulling out of those accounts, and we were supposed to be in a lower bracket, right?
That's been the game plan.
Well, I can tell you that probably 90% of the people that we're working with found themselves, quite honestly, either in the same bracket or a higher bracket once they got to retirement.
So they go to retire, and it turns out, oops, we're not in a lower bracket. We're in the same or higher.
Right. Technically, all we really did is just kick the can down the road, right?
Yeah.
We saved at this rate, and now we got to pay at the same or higher rate.
So when people come in and they visit with you, what are you telling them to do?
Well, in this regard, in tax planning, you talked about it in the show. You have to understand that you got a partner in this account, right? So what do we want? What do we want to do in tax planning? What we're trying to do really is try to buy that partner out at the cheapest rate we possibly can. Now, sometimes that's maybe doing a Roth conversion all at once, right? Sometimes it's just incrementally doing a little bit each year till we can try to get them out. And honestly, sometimes it's just when we have to take our required minimum distributions, maybe that is the cheapest rate.
Maybe it is. Now, by the way, just out of curiosity, I know at Centennial Wealth, we do tax planning for our clients. It's just a matter of course. Yet, you were an accountant. You had 1,000. You were at 1,000 clients. How many of those clients that were non-business owners? How many of them had their advisors helping them with tax planning? I mean, if you weren't there, what kind of tax planning are they getting?
I know that they're not getting them from advisors. The typical talk we'll hear from people when they're talking with us is, my advisor never talked to me about these things. Matter of fact, when I'd want to talk to them about them, they just told me I should go talk to my tax preparer.
Yeah, and normally the tax preparer, the accountant, they're just putting the right numbers in the right boxes, right?
That's right.
During tax season, they don't have time. Right?
Mike, they're just trying to get taxes out the door.
I hear you.
They might offer some recommendations, but they're certainly not running all these mock return scenarios trying to figure out how to buy out Uncle Sam and that kind of thing.
I get it. Well, Larry, thanks a lot. This is the end of we're kind of running out of time. We really appreciate it, folks. That's our show this week. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, you only retire once. Let's do it right the first time. We'll see you next week.